Welcome. We're into Lent. Just a few days ago, many Christians were signed with ashes to indicate they had solemnly entered into this observance, we might say, of Christian community. Now, you who did not make it to Ash Wednesday, you begin your Lent with this first Sunday of Lent. And it is a very important statement made by the Holy Scriptures about the meaning of this 40 days that will take place in our lives. It begins reminding us that it was Jesus himself that remained in the desert for 40 days. Interesting enough, St. Mark does not give any kind of insight into the temptations like some of the other Gospels narrate. He simply says he remained in the desert for 40 days, tempted by Satan. He was among the wild beasts, and the angels administered to him, indicating that it was a very spiritual experience. Though there were, you might say, the wild animals there, he was in the desert, he was alone, and yet he wasn't. It was a very special time that Jesus experienced. We have another mention of 40 days, not specifically, but in the story of Noah, who makes the ark, and God sends a flood on the world to cleanse it of the evils that had taken place. There in the story of Noah, we find twice the mention of 40. 40 days were the number of days the flood, the waters came down on the earth. And after a number of hundreds of days, the water subsided. And then once again, on the 40th day, it says, Noah opened the doors of the ark and started to gingerly make his way back onto the dry land, realizing the land was drying up, that the waters had been subsided, and he was once again at peace to make his way with his small family into the world. And it's very interesting that this incident of Noah culminates with a very beautiful celestial sign from God, the rainbow. As you know, a bow is an instrument of war. And when it's pointed at you, you don't like it. But the rainbow, if you think about it, the bow is across the sky, points upward. It points away from humanity. And not only is the beautiful coloration there, but the ancient mind saw in the rainbow a sign of peace between God and humanity that had been disturbed by man's evil, and the power of the flood and the waters have reconstituted the human race as something precious and something beautiful. And that's why we move into that second reading from the letter of St. Peter, who describes and talks about what happened to Noah as a prefigurement of the sacrament of baptism. That like Noah, who entered the ark and found salvation from evil by the floods of the waters that cascaded on the earth, so the Christian, in entering into the waters of baptism, he or she rises up from them, cleansed of their sins, and renewed in their relationship to God, who makes, you might say, his peace with us through the sacrament of baptism. And it is this preparation for the sacrament of baptism that is the core of the reason we have the 40 days of Lent. It is the time in which people prepare to be baptized. And so in turn, the early Christian community started to say, well, while they're preparing to be baptized, those of us who have been baptized have an opportunity now, along with our brothers and sisters who are going to be coming into the church through the great sacrament of baptism. We're going to work with them and imitate the way of Christ, who outlines that there are three traditional, you might say, practices of prayer, fasting, and almsgiving. All of these in some way contribute to the deepening of our vocation and our calling that God has for us in the waters of baptism. And for those who are preparing for baptism, it also enables them through prayer, fasting, and almsgiving to ready themselves for the Christian life. So Lent ahead of us is 40 days in imitation of Jesus. Lent ahead of us is a reminder to us of the great sacrament of baptism, prefigured in the events of Noah's life, 40 days rain and 40 days until he opened the ark, reminding us of the peace of God, which is, you might say, like that rainbow in heaven that is turned away from human race to indicate we are at peace with God. He is at peace with us. We need to open our hearts to that peace.